A few hours after the U.S. announced new economic sanctions against Russia for invading Ukraine, Moscow responded with sanctions of its own. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday said they too would ban the exports of certain commodities and raw materials. Details on exactly which products will be banned have not yet been revealed, but they will be announced in the next 2 days. The U.S. said earlier on Tuesday that it would ban imports of Russian oil, natural gas, and coal in a bid to deprive Russia of economic resources as war in Ukraine rages. Following Biden's announcement, the UK proposed phasing out Russian oil imports by the end of 2022. The EU also said it would cut Russian oil imports by 2/3.
The U.S. rejected a surprise offer from its NATO ally Poland on Tuesday to transfer fighter jets to an American base in Germany in the hopes of bolstering Ukraine's air force. Washington turned down Poland's foreign ministry after it had announced it was ready to deploy its MiG-29 jets to Ramstein Air Base in Germany and put them at the disposal of the United States. Warsaw also urged other members of the NATO alliance to do the same. Victoria Nuland, a top U.S. diplomat, said the Polish proposal caught Washington by surprise. She told the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, quote, "To my knowledge, it wasn't pre-consulted with us that they planned to give these planes to us."
Well, Russia had initially announced that it was opening up 5 humanitarian corridors. Now, the latest we are hearing is that under their proposal, they have offered to open up 10 humanitarian corridors. Kyiv has so far given the green light to one of them, and that is out of Sumy, keeping in mind that Ukraine had accused Moscow of targeting civilians as they try to flee certain areas in previous ceasefires. And Kyiv also had rejected Russia's offer as the evacuation routes under their proposal meant that refugees had essentially needed to go to Russia or Russia's ally Belarus. So the evacuation of civilians is underway in Sumy. Buses with evacuees are now on the road and heading south to the central city of Poltava. That's 175 kilometers south. About 20 to 30 buses have now left the city, and according to Russian officials, 723 civilians have been evacuated, including 575 Indian nationals.
In the hours after President Biden's announcement today to ban Russian oil imports, we're seeing more private companies saying we too are not doing business. Coca Cola, Pepsi, Starbucks, and McDonald's have all suspended operations in Russia. The pressure has been building for them to do so, and now the pressure shifts again to the Kremlin as the attacks in Ukraine continue.
During the promised ceasefire today in the northern city of Sumy, Ukraine, its 250,000 people felt the critical value of silence. Dozens of buses full of people traveled along the humanitarian corridor and made it into another town 100 miles away. They left everything behind, and yet not much is left. Missile strikes in that area turned buildings into debris. Rescue workers cut through the steel and the darkness to save anyone trapped. In Mariupol to the south, the local official told ABC News they had to abandon an attempt to evacuate after Russia violated the ceasefire there. It's 300,000 people are left without water or power.
It's a wake-up call for the country. Japanese encephalitis detected in 4 states. And it's now claimed the lives of 2 men, a man in his 70s from the Griffith region of New South Wales and another in his 60s in northern Victoria. Japanese encephalitis is not new to Australia, but it's rare. The last outbreak was in northern Australia around the Tiwi Islands and far north of Cape York in 1995. But the recent warm, wet weather has seen the disease travel south along the eastern coast via infected birds and mosquitoes and in piggeries. Cases have been reported in Queensland, South Australia. There have been 7 cases in Victoria and 3 in New South Wales.
Now, in other news, in a shocking development, the health ministry reporting its first confirmed case of polio in Israel since 1989. And the patient, an unvaccinated 4-year-old boy in Jerusalem.
Yes, hello, Aaron. This is very sad. Unfortunately, we know that approximately 2% of the population in Israel is not vaccinated against polio, which is, a vaccine that saves lives, that can prevent terrible things, and that has been known for 60 years, even more, 70 years. So, this is quite astonishing to see such a thing happening today in 2022. And we know, unfortunately, that in Jerusalem, there are pockets of people that are not willing to get their kids vaccinated against polio.
In other news at this hour, voting is currently underway in South Korea, where nearly 44 million eligible voters are casting their ballot today to elect their next president. The race for a new president has aggravated the domestic divisions in the country, already marred by the rising cases of COVID-19. The election comes at a time as South Korea continues to witness a steady rise in COVID cases, along with tackling the pandemic. The winner of the election will have to face a string of other challenges like deepening gender inequality, the ever-present threat of North Korea, and surging house prices in the country that have strained Asia's fourth largest economy.
Mourners in northwestern Nigeria buried their dead on Tuesday after clashes between a local self-defense vigilante group and armed gunmen killed at least 57 people. According to the police, the clashes occurred Monday in the Zuru district of Kebbi State in northwestern Nigeria. The gunmen were heavily armed and were fleeing military operations in neighboring Niger State when they were intercepted by the local vigilantes.